thank you for having me.
All right, we'll just go over the minutes and then we'll move you up to the top of the discussion, okay?
I'm here.
You're
It's,
here for the whole meeting?
Yep. I'm here to stay.
Oh, okay.
Great.
All right, that's great. All right, so, we held off starting the meeting for a few minutes here to take a look at the meeting minutes from January 10th. We have a couple misspellings on the first page. Judy is spelled I-E. In D, section B. In D, section C, Maven is spelled M-A-V-E-N. D, section E, the word is brought, and put a T to that. Under
Page 2 at the top there.
page 2 at the top, we have,
It says Judy gave a copy to Nate P. Actually, you did, so it's just being technical, but.
oh yeah, the line should say Kathy gave a copy to Nate P. Correction on the first paragraph. Then in old business, bylaws update,
Actually, it's not really bylaws, it's regulations.
regulations update. I always call them bylaws, so
I know.
that's my mistake. So if I say that wrong again, remind me, it's regulations update, not bylaws.
Kind of picky, but under 4, summer doesn't need to be capitalized. Right?
So 4, it's Kathy stated
Summer,
over
yeah,
past
right.
summer issue that. And under 5, again, we're gonna substitute the word regulations wherever bylaws appears. Are there any corrections on page 3 or 4? Or page 4 or 4?
Other than the Maven.
No, Megan spelled correctly on 5 there.
3 at the top.
Oh, is there another one? Oh, wait, at top, yeah.
Yes. So, I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from January 10th with the spelling and typo changes and change it from bylaws update to regulations update throughout the report. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Colleen seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes approved. I will sign off on the amended copy of the official minutes. Before I get to do that. All right, next item is COVID-19 / flu / Maven update. Lori, do you?
So, only 4 more cases of COVID at the Hubbardston Center School since our last meeting.
Okay.
2 of them were siblings, grade 5 and grade 2, and then a grade 4 and a grade 5, so the 2 grade 5s were in the same classroom, but who knows, so, but just those 4 that she's reported
Okey-doke.
in 2 weeks, so that's not horrendous.
No, that's.
And no more RSV or influenza that she's aware of.
Great.
Yeah.
That's the one I was more worried about.
It's a little bit of a pukey thing going on over there right now.
Is it a
But-
stomach virus?
Yeah, that's to be expected.
Under Maven, we did get a reply from Steve Curry in Fitchburg, who oversees that program that we are associated with, that the 2 hirees that he asked us to sign off approval on are, neither one of them are nurses. One is an epidemiologist and the second one, oh, sorry, now I forgot what their actual qualification was. But neither one of them are nurses. So my question is, if we don't have a nurse to do visits, where does that leave us? And I haven't gotten an
These
answer.
follow-up calls.
Or follow-up calls, I haven't gotten an answer on that yet.
Yeah, so if we
In
had
my
another.
experience with epidemiologists is they don't do follow-up calls.
Yeah, no, they're usually just there for support and guidance,
Yeah.
need to ask questions of them, but they don't
They-
really do
they-
the actual,
So
yeah.
I-
And the other one wasn't capable of doing like follow-up or, no.
There, again, it's that kind of,
So that's the MPHN thing that we're paid through.
Why were
June.
there two?
They covered 13 towns
Okay,
yes, so
alright.
they were hiring you.
Just, they were hiring two because they needed
to
the two
cover so that
positions.
all of the other nurses
Yeah.
could.
So that the other towns that do have nurses within their towns, will have support.
So say we had another TB case and the medication needed to be given by the nurse.
I'm not
no
sure where
one's-
we
would get
stand.
a call from the state asking for somebody from our town, a nurse from our town to follow up.
So you or I would go,
Right.
okay.
Mhm.
Alrighty, so we're paying them so we can go do the work,
Right.
okay, I get it.
At this point, that is correct.
Okay.
That's one of
what
the
it appears.
things,
Alright.
that's what it appears, but I
So if
don't
there's no
have
more
the
TB.
confirmation back from Steve as to, their exact role.
Okay. Alright, well, we haven't heard of any more TVs, so.
And then your one last bit of information in the school liaison position. We had a number of, masks,
Oh, yeah.
gloves,
Hand sanitizer.
hand sanitizers.
Hand sanitizer wipes, spray bottles, some alcohol wipes. And she said to tell you all, thank you very much.
We donated them to the elementary school, they
Yeah.
needed them.
Yeah,
That's the
Ryan
point
was-
of bringing this
yep.
up, is we donated them.
Yep.
Some of them were past expiration, but you looked it up
Yeah, I looked
and
it
it's
up.
only that instead of maybe, say 93%,
Alcohol, then,
it
yeah.
drops to like 87 or so.
But it's better than nothing, and that's what they had.
Right, so
Teachers-
we
teachers in the
donated all
classrooms
that
were
older
out.
excess to
Yeah.
the elementary school.
Yeah, and Raya said to pass on a very big thank you to the Board of Health for helping them with that.
So, those extra supplies have not been thrown away, but used.
Yep, utilized, yep.
Title V reports, did we have any?
I don't think so.
No, I don't recall any either. Let me just double check that I haven't missed anything.
Let's say I email you so much. Oh, it's Ryan.
No, Title V reports, water tests, we did get, water test results, from last year included now to be put in the Ron Burton.
Finally?
Finally, yeah.
Well, I called and
Yeah.
left him a message because I also, am filling out a state report about campgrounds and they asked for, they have a medical physician to, on their staff as per diem, and nowhere on the last 2 years' applications did it have his state licensure, so I now have that information to pass on to the state because it's required.
Is it a physician?
Yes.
Oh, okay. 'cause I
They
knew
just didn't
had
have
a
it in their
nurse.
application for me
Okay.
to include in that state report. I now have it, and he sent us the water report.
Great.
No problems.
Yeah, I know they had a nurse
And-
up there.
No, there's no problems.
Not even hired or
Just double check.
Everybody in
Point.
Hubbardston has that.
I don't.
You don't? Oh,
No, I'm
lucky
sitting on
you.
an aquifer, that's why I'm asking, the camp is just up the street, so
Oh, yeah.
I was wondering if they were free and clear of it as
Yeah,
well.
maybe they are too.
Yeah.
They basically tested for, the coliform for E. coli, and those were all normal. Okay. By putting these things as we go through them underneath, that's what I usually do. Okay, next we have permits to be voted on. Okay, we have a, application for an installer's permit for William G. Schultz. And so he is not a resident of the town, so there's no debt owed. And we do have a copy of, his licensure in West Townsend to substantiate that he should be allowed to be, an installer here. So
What
that's.
house is he installing? That,
He's just, this is just an installer's permit for
Usually-
individual septic systems.
yeah, usually it's because they've been asked to come in and do a house.
I saw some work being done on, 10 Doherty recently, and it looked like it was a simple, there was no markings on the truck, like no name, so, could have been Schultz.
We also have a, installer's permit for JP C Septic, Jake Peltes from Rutland. The third one is a septic hauler permit for Jeff D. Helgerson Excavating from Charlton.
It's a ways.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have gotten the corrected, application for residential and commercial refuge for Republic Services, so that we can vote and sign off on that.
It's quicker than I thought it was gonna be. It's quicker than I thought it was gonna be, that they got it
Quicker,
back,
yeah.
yeah.
We have reached out to, Harvey Trash Haulers, and they're awaiting a check from the corporate
Maybe that's what I was
company.
thinking of.
And that's why E.L. Harvey hasn't sent their paperwork in. But we will remind them again next week if it's not here. Okay, so I make a motion on these types of, permits to be, approved tonight, and then we'll sign off on them. Do I hear a second? Lori seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Can I ask a trash question unrelated to the permit?
Sure.
Have we at any point, we meaning the town as a whole, attempted to get a preferred trash hauler? Cause I know sometimes they'll give deals to like kind of an aggregated group of the community for going with the same preferred trash hauler, but I don't know if we've ever done that.
Not in the last,
Not since they implemented it back in when.
not that I'm
Start
aware of, not
trash
since I've been
collection.
on the board.
Never heard of that. Never heard of it.
It's one of those things that worked on it in other communities, it's kind of Board of Health, kind of not, like, the last community I was in had a waste and recycling committee on top of their Board of Health and other committees, so it was more their thing, but they were able to save a decent amount of money, like nothing to write home about per se, but,
Was it for each customer was saving money?
yeah.
Here, keep all the paperwork together, just sign off.
And does that mean there's a non-compete with the town, so that no one else can
No,
come in?
anyone else can compete, they just offer a discounted price to have the town say, oh, this is our preferred, and then when they call in, do you have a preferred? Yup, this is them.
People actually
You-
ask about it?
Yeah, Yeah, we get calls all the time asking about trash and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I know we only have the three, right, Republican Waste Management and E.L. Harvey.
Yeah.
Right.
Those
That's it.
three. It's just all the extra paperwork.
Good one with it. A few years ago, when I was first on the board, Waste Management was the common hauler, and we did ask for that kind of setup, and because we're so small, they refused. That was a while ago,
Sounds
about 8 years ago. I mean, we,
So we've grown.
yeah.
That's what happened when I was in Princeton last. We put out the bid to get it, and then Waste Management put in as a bid and didn't give us a discount. They just gave us their normal price, so.
So did they know, what did they do, go into their files and see how many customers in town were actually their customers, and that's how they decided that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we're supposed to. This one down here.
You'd think that they would
Just go below that. We don't have a vice chairman.
think that if the town had a preferred one.
Colleen is. Colleen's the
Yeah, you
vice
could go
chairman.
ahead and be
It's the same thing
Colleen's
as
the
they
vice
do with
chairman,
electrical
Laurie.
and a lot
Oh,
of
Colleen
communities,
is?
like
Okay, so leave
National
that open
Grid
for
will
her.
give a
It's her special
discount
spot.
Oh,
for
so go to
everybody
Colleen,
being
right.
part of the same program.
Assistant meeting facilitator.
I'm school liaison.
Yeah,
I
right
got,
now,
I got a
electrical's so
thing,
messed
I
up.
got a thing going. Just 'cause that's my niche. Niche? Niche. I don't know.
What were you guys talking about me?
Oh, you are.
It's
I
ours
was talking
now
to Nate and I go,
about
I
you.
go, Colleen, I'm there, oh my
Vice
God, what did I do
chairman.
wrong now?
Nothing, you're the vice chairman.
Oh,
What
yeah.
about me?
So you don't pay attention for
I
one
just
second,
don't
and you're the
know.
vice chairman.
Well, that's how I got to be vice chairman.
Yeah.
Snuck right in there.
Yeah.
Everybody else said Dib's not. She was the only one left.
That's,
No.
I wasn't here one night.
That's how it happens.
Right, Judy?
Right.
No, we just twisted your arm last summer.
A couple of weeks ago, we got a CIPC chairman, it was just the last person that happened to get to the meeting.
Oh, it would always be me. I'm always late. Horrible, horrible, horrible.
No, it was my grandson's birthday and I had to FaceTime him for a little bit. I'm like, I gotta go. He's telling me all his gifts he got, he turned 10. I go, oh man.
And this
That's a good
underneath
one,
here.
10.
Yeah,
We got
double
like-
digits. They feel so big. Baby.
Okay, in addition to that type of permit, we also have 3 additional permits. We have the permit for food establishment for the Hubtown Diner. Excuse me, which also includes their milk and cream permit. We have a residential kitchen license for Sunflower Pastries. For the Hubbardston Market, in addition to their food establishment, we have their frozen dessert and ice cream permit and their milk and cream permit. Did I miss something here? I feel like I missed something. Nope, that's it.
Well, you had Republic Trash here with them, but we already, it's on this line with those.
Right.
Is that what,
These
maybe
are
what you're thinking of? There was something
I'm
else, but.
actually thinking of the one-stop shop. They
Oh.
needed, a couple additional permits. I spoke with them last week, handed them the forms, and they will get them in shortly for tobaccos and their, I believe it's
Oh,
the
that's right,
frozen desserts as well.
Yeah, that's right, we talked about that.
That's the old Mr. Mike's, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And we're just kind of waiting on them. We also have the, permit for Peaceful Acres Campground to operate a food establishment in 2023. That's here, however, their campground permit's not included. We'll have to
Did
remind
they have a
them.
food establishment up there?
Yes, they do.
Oh.
They
little
have
shop.
they have a little dining room area for their long-term campers.
Oh,
They
okay.
mostly have long summer
Seasonal?
seasonal campers, yes. So I make a motion that we approve these food permits. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll pass those around to be signed. We're just keeping everything together on these.
Oh yeah, the other stuff we handed out too were 2 dozen more COVID kits to the senior center.
Oh, yes.
So we handed those out too. We'd already given them 2 dozen previously and they went through them like in, what, less than a week or something?
Mhm.
So we got them another 2 dozen and I brought them over.
Right, and there, of course, COVID tests, free COVID tests are available
Yep.
here in this main building,
Library.
in the library, in the offices under the library, and all. So we have 4 different locations for people to get free COVID tests. All right. It'll take another minute to get that all. All right. Under old business, we have bylaws update. Judy, would you like to speak to that?
Well, so I've been
And
checking
again, it's not bylaws, it's regulations. I mean, as you can tell, I typed up the agenda, so. Regulations update, excuse me.
So, I've been going through them all, one by one, and, I have a couple copies, but if you're missing a page, when I took it off the printer, I ended up with 3 extra pages, I don't know what. So you might be missing a page. And my printer also decided, instead of keeping it all together, it was going so.
Just throw it out of the machine?
Yes. Oh, made for good.
I have
So-
a cat that stops that.
So I brought, here's the old copy, here's the 2006 copy that I've been working off of. I discovered I can dictate, so I've been dictating rather than typing, which is taking a lot of time. And, so there's where I'm at is some of the tobacco, I didn't get them completely, dictated, like the last page, so I'll get that in. And then the other one that I didn't put in was the one on, tattoo parlors.
Yeah.
So I gotta, cause I had a question. So, but here's the 2006 one that I've been working off of. And I brought my computer with me so that if we wanted changes made or corrections, or we wanna add something,
Is this mine?
There's a lot to go through here for
Yep.
this evening, so, how about, we do this as homework?
Yeah,
Other
sure.
than your question that you had for us.
the tattoo parlor, I didn't know if you wanted to, there was, you said the massage parlors are now under license, so they get inspected by the state now?
That is what I read in an email in the last month.
And zoos, right?
And
What was
we-
the other one?
Cause we did have a massage parlor,
But, we should
Right.
double check on that. It's-
Yeah,
Could you make a note, Nancy, for you and I to double check on, whether the town, under state law, should be inspecting local massage parlors?
I
Sounds
don't
like a
think they're
yes.
currently doing massages at the wellness center, the Hubbardston, right, the center there, but they were. Now they're just doing Reiki,
Okay,
in that area, like on
Sure.
that bed type thing, but, so that doesn't, I don't think that needs the same inspections, right?
no, it does
Reiki
not.
is not hands-on, yeah. But they do from time to time
Well,
have
it
a
is-
massage
it-
therapist there.
It is hands-on, but the techniques, come under a different set of guidelines.
Looks like a yes.
Where were you able to find that?
On this Massachusetts laws about massage
Massage
therapy.
therapy. There you go, baby.
Right.
There you go.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
the state comes in and
Yeah, it's all right there.
Oh, good.
and so the state has to, come in and license them and do an inspection, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
And
Like
then
a
it's-
hospital facility, you come in like a hospital facility.
Whenever you guys are done with a regulation, feel free to send it over and I can send it to legal, just to make sure that it's all, that everything's fine and dandy.
Well, what I found is that, some of this was written to be friendly, or user-friendly, citizen-friendly, so it's in language that you and I understand. And then the others are whereas,
Yeah.
whereas.
Which is hard, yeah.
Right, limited but not, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing was, smoking. That's one of those whereases that the tobacco group from Fitchburg sent us. And we accepted it somewhere along the line. But, the next section was regulations regarding smoking in the town of Hubbardston. I guess the first time we went through and accepted the, regulations, they did not have regulations regarding smoking in public areas. So, it was added on as a second component, second piece. So, when I read through these, when you start reading through the regulations that this updated version that the Tobacco Alliance has sent us, I didn't see anything in there that it really addressed it directly. Again, the public, no smoking in public areas. And in fact, Mallory had a note on that we had 10 feet away from the doors of public areas. She had us 500 feet. 500 feet.
500.
I was thinking maybe 50. So I put you'll see throughout, that I put little stars where I think, we need to kinda look at it again.
Yeah.
And then,
That's like a football field.
Long gone,
think. Yeah, so you might as well just say forbidden everywhere.
Yeah.
Because 500 feet.
500 feet.
You run into someone.
You have to go out in the middle of the lake if you wanna smoke.
Yeah.
That's how they do it at Haywood Hospital, you can't smoke
Yes.
within a certain amount of feet, like from the parameter.
Yeah, you can't be
Yeah.
a smoker, period, to
Yeah.
work there. Be a smoker.
Can you,
Really is.
since you have your computer handy, would you Google Mass law?
Well, where you can smoke,
Yes.
everyone's vaping now, so
Oh,
they're doing it,
smoking or
they're
vaping.
doing it inside.
And but the vaping's worse,
Yeah.
those big
Yeah.
clouds from those e-cig things are disgusting.
I thought
And
they,
so we
they
need
were
to,
going to that
we need to
too.
look at, there's a little bit about vaping in the updated Tobacco Alliance, but we probably need to update
That regulation as
the
well.
definitions anyway, the definitions.
Well, can it all just be under the same thing? Like, no tobacco smoking, vaping,
Well, that's
e-cigs,
my-
none of
that
it
was one-
within
yeah.
50 feet.
That
It's
was the
just-
other thing too, is do we wanna
Yeah.
merge the,
Yeah.
Article 6 and Article
Yeah.
7 together?
That just stinks. You ever smell that? I was working at the alternative high school. They used to.
What, the
it's
vapes?
tiny, the little vape thing that could fit into the palm of your hand.
Oh, there is
25
a
feet.
oh,
Into their clothes.
I
25
25
But it
feet.
smells so
20 the
sweet,
state-
And
it's like
I think it's a local and building specific thing too, not a state.
Oh,
Yes, so we could take a second look at it and then
okay,
bring it in.
so one of the
Site.
questioned areas is distance.
California prohibits within 20 feet, so.
Oh, it's probably
That's
50, not
probably-
500.
No,
No,
it's
everything
not,
else
it's
is
not
probably
500.
lower than
She
that.
has
Yeah,
a-
that, they're the,
Yeah,
She
it
has
sounds,
a
it sounds to
crazy
be 10,
here.
I know
Yeah.
there's
Say
areas where it's
500.
just
Yeah.
10.
Texas, you can still smoke inside.
Maybe it was a $500 fine for smoking within the
You-
20 feet.
You know what, and that's the other thing too, is I took out the fines because, you know, they can shift. And so we would be constantly updating every time we changed the fines around, we have that
Fines
option.
removed.
So, I just put fines, except for one, there was one that was very specific and I can't remember what it is.
So we don't have to specifically name the amount of the fine?
No, because would have a list of all of our fees and fines,
Okay.
and then there's, yeah,
To create list of
But we
funds.
don't have to notify people of that?
right.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to post a
We
sign?
put it on the website.
So we would just have to update that list
Yeah.
instead of go through and dig the regulations.
Right.
Yeah, I meant like say somebody came, you know, to the senior center and they were playing bingo, whatever the heck they're doing, and they were a smoker and they go outside and smoke right outside the door. We don't have to post a sign saying no smoking within X feet of the building, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, per regulation, Board of Health
Oh, so
regulation.
you do have to post,
It's recommended.
it's recommended.
Could you? There's one guy that goes and smokes outside of my office window.
Yeah, seriously, because I'm, how else do they know though,
Yeah.
that they're not supposed to smoke
Right.
within X number of feet if you don't post it?
Right.
So it would have to like be, I don't know, posted where,
We
like
have to
outside
decide,
of like
yeah.
the school, the library, the senior center, the police station, I mean,
We're
you
not
know,
gonna do
what-
500 feet, we're gonna have to decide which.
And does that apply to the rec field?
And I wanna say the
No.
school, because of
They're
where this
outside.
building and the library and the senior center are, there are special regulations for where you can smoke
Right,
in proximity to a school.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe
and
that's
that's
the 500
listed,
feet.
and that's listed, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
listed in here.
This, the
But
park
what about
too,
the rec
right?
field? Like, can you sit there watching your kids,
Yeah, it's outside.
Yeah, but it's
Soccer game?
outside.
There's no building.
that's still a public place?
There's no
I mean, you've
buildings.
got other parents and people,
I don't know.
I don't think people would love it, but
but there's nothing you can do, that's not considered a public place.
What, the park?
Like a playground or, yeah, or like the field when the kids are playing?
I
Well,
suppose
the playground is the
playground,
playground.
yeah.
Yeah, but parents sit there at those picnic tables and.
So there could be a regulation because it's a playground, but for the rest of the rec field,
Hmm,
you
good
know?
question.
I don't know.
Cause I mean,
That's,
if you're sitting there and you're watching your kids play and there's other parents and they're smoking away, it could be pretty
Let's see.
obnoxious.
Enclosed
Especially if the wind's coming one day.
areas, private clubs.
It sounds horrible.
Public place.
I'm
Public
just
place,
saying.
any enclosed
Right?
area in which the
Could
public
certainly
is
be
invited.
doing that,
Yeah.
if there's nothing posted saying you can't.
Right.
Municipal
Well,
buildings,
can we just,
retail
like,
restrooms, libraries,
post that,
those are all
or
closed.
just, does it have to be?
Well, if we deem it a public place, right?
is it specifically tobacco, or now that marijuana is sold in stores, can we prohibit the?
You can't smoke marijuana in a public place, it's just like alcohol.
Oh.
So it's under the
alright.
same thing, so you cannot like have an open beer and be at the soccer game swigging.
Yeah.
You can't be smoking marijuana, it's the same as an alcohol.
'Cause it's an adult substance.
Yes, exactly, so you can't, so that's a whole separate thing, but the smoking at outdoor sporting events, I don't know.
Boy,
It doesn't,
I think
it-
we'd have to
it
look that
doesn't
up
address
before
it.
we,
It doesn't address it.
you know.
So and then
But
the
I mean,
last question
Haywood
I
Hospital
had,
does that, the grounds.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's a hospital.
It's private. It's their private rules.
Yeah.
Judy has another point.
the last question was, do we, want to include the tattoos? It's another one that was written by lawyers, so it starts out with whereas, so it's quite extensive and comprehensive.
Which
But
one was
if, but
that?
if we don't have something in place and somebody
Right.
wants to open a tattoo parlor and we have
Yeah.
nothing already in place, then we can't then go back and say, oh, by the way, you can't do X, Y, Z because it wasn't there when they opened. right? So we gotta have something.
It would fall upon state law. Whatever the state said would then.
If we wanna
Yeah,
make
if you wanna
it
be,
more.
more,
And so yes, we should look at what the state
I
law
think-
is for that.
Yeah, I think we should
And then
include something,
that should
we have
be-
to have something, but.
Cause our primary goal within the town is to make sure that we're abiding by the state rules. And
you can make anything
tighter.
tighter,
Tighter.
you can't loosen it past state
No,
law.
we,
Right, yeah.
so we're trying to abide by the state rules, yes, we
Yeah.
can make it tighter but not looser.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and include them, and I'll just keep chipping away at this. And then the other one is, I did do a lot of research to try to find, regulations on odors. And I also have send out a little blurb to all my boards of health that I work with. And, I didn't get anything back, not even a tweet.
Well, there is
The only one I got back was, well, what are you looking for? Or, you know, that was, so I'm not sure how many of our surrounding towns actually have
Does-
a lot of this, you know.
Does the CCC have a regulation for
So,
agricultural marijuana odors? I'm
You're
assuming they
funny.
do.
You're funny,
What?
the CCC.
They must, right? Cannabis Control
Yeah.
Committee.
Let's get to the end of this and I'll tell you all about what we're going through with the CCC.
Oh, okay.
So odors are addressed under the legal handbook for Massachusetts Boards of Health. And, odors are considered a nuisance. And, the Board of Health has a right that if there is something that may affect the health and well-being of the people of the town, we have a right, a legal right to address it. We don't have to qualify it in a quantity, but there is a minimum, recommended or suggested, number of, complaints from neighbors and stuff before you should worry about, making a big issue of it. And therefore, I'm going to lead that right into our next item, which is the cannabis odor update. We had a lot of complaints. We voted on approval of a letter to send out to the 2 cannabis facilities in Hubbardston on November, I believe it was November 17th. And in reading through the Massachusetts legal handbook, I have updated that original letter to include a couple additional points that they suggest that we have in the letter so that it is a letter that has some power to it, that it can't be contested. So I have copies of the updated letter for each of you to review.
How many complaints did we get
A
total
dozen.
for the odor? A dozen?
Yeah, we had a dozen complaints.
Okay.
Not just 1 or 2.
And it's not just you guys. Been calling all sorts of, they call the police, they call the planning, they call my
Yes.
office, and there's been a good amount.
So, we had come up with a game plan, and the first step was to notify the 2 owners, and I've included in this letter now, I'll read it out loud, might as well read it out loud, regarding cannabis odor complaints. First, we would like to thank you for creating additional business in Hubbardston and would like to see you succeed. However, we received over 12 complaints during the summer of 2022, especially late July and August, from residents in town about the skunk-like odor from your cannabis operation that tainted the air for a half mile in all directions daily. We will not permit this to happen again in 2023. The Board of Health has the authority to make decisions about businesses with odor issues under the DEP regulations and I cited the correct code. You were granted a special permit to operate in the town of Hubbardston, in which you agreed not to have odors from your marijuana operation. Article 22.1 of the town's bylaws states that no marijuana or cannabis establishment shall impinge on any property owner's right to freedom of noise, odor, light pollution, or the natural, scenic, historical, and aesthetic quality of their properties. Odor complaints made by the townspeople are legitimate evidence that your business in the summer and fall of 2022 operated an odor generating operation. And that's the term that I corrected with the regulation. We are asking you to send a letter to the Board of Health informing us of how you will prevent this from happening again. The Board of Health will review and present your plan to the Planning Board and Selectmen if it is deemed acceptable by the Board of Health. Please be aware that if you do not submit a plan for odor abatement in 2023 and beyond, it may be necessary to set up a public meeting to discuss whether or not to revoke your permit to operate in the town of Hubbardston in 2023. The odor violation constitutes a legitimate reason to reconsider your permit approval. Also, if violations occur in the growing, harvesting, and drying season of your cannabis operation, the Board of Health has the right to impose a $1,000 penalty for every day that the odor nuisance occurs, that the owner knowingly violates the order to stop. Oh, I didn't write that very well.
That sentence isn't right.
No, it's not right. Sorry, the last sentence is incorrect. That the owner knowingly violates the order to stop.
It looks like you had
Odor
double thought.
causing issue at your Hubbardston site.
Yeah.
I was trying to quote, general law, section C-111, section 123. Please respond in 21 business days.
So are we calling this a cannabis operation or a marijuana operation? Cause you got marijuana up here.
Correct. That was under the, Article 22, it was listed as marijuana. Marijuana and cannabis are,
They're the same, I know, but
they're the same.
we discussed that the last time and I didn't know if you were gonna stick with the cannabis. Okay.
Article 22 uses the word marijuana,
Marijuana.
therefore we're listing it as marijuana in that paragraph.
Okay.
And I do need to write this, but how did I look that up?
Nate, did you want to say that?
Sure, and I also have a little bit of something to say on this afterwards.
Please.
So,
So he's gonna rewrite this.
so I need to rewrite the last sentence.
Cause it's a whole paragraph of a sentence.
Right.
There's a couple typos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just.
There's, okay.
Yeah. So in the
Yeah.
third paragraph that starts with you, there's no space between of and 2022.
Mhm.
And then there's not a space before the parentheses, and there should be a period after the parentheses.
Oh, yeah. I was having a lot of trouble with my computer for that.
You were feeling it while you were writing it, you just.
Also, there should be a comma right there between selectmen and if.
Yes.
And shouldn't that be men, M-E-N, not just man, select?
It should be select board, sorry.
Yep, that's right, 'cause it is.
I didn't catch that, I don't know why.
And in that same paragraph with select board, the underline goes past, it goes
Oh, yeah.
a little far.
I tried to get that all.
That's all I saw, that's all I saw.
Well, that's why we're looking it over.
And when you get down to that last sentence that you're trying to, that you need to revamp a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, $1,000, but then you should put in parentheses $1,000.
Okay.
Numbers, and it's MGL, drop the M.
And my name's spelled wrong.
Oh, you know what,
It's
that
your
was,
turn. It was
it
your
was on
turn,
the
Liz.
remember, that was one of
Yeah.
the originals, so it just didn't get corrected
Sorry.
here, yeah.
It's okay. It's S instead of Z.
should be one where you have, after the word beyond, that should stay.
These are nice,
I would imagine
edits
there are
that-
ways to get rid of that smell, it's probably
Curves.
getting expensive for them, but I think they do have systems.
Well, they said they did. When we all went to that big meeting, they said they had some kind of plan
Didn't they just plant flowers?
to stop those odors, you know?
They planted flowers, that doesn't work.
There's a lot of things that they're not doing.
I went to that meeting. I came back, my
Somebody
head was
hasn't
spinning.
met.
Okay.
You know, it's one thing to go to a meeting and hear this whole, people talk about this whole new thing coming into town that's new for every town, basically. And they make their spiel and it all sounds great, and many people
that
asked
we
questions
heard?
that night, and they answered them all, and
Put a period there and then say the penalty.
that now, it's here,
Um,
and a lot of, there's
would be
a lot more questions
issued.
now about
Yeah.
stuff, you know? Cause nobody, I don't even think, I mean, I don't think
If you
it-
knowingly
we didn't
It's-
know.
The
You know?
owner
Yeah, I
only
did not, I
violates
It was
think that was
just
before I
stop.
joined the board and
Stop.
I was not aware they were having a meeting, I probably would have gone.
any
Cause I
causing.
I have a nephew that like grows his own plants and oh my god, what a
Or address,
stench.
maybe address.
Yeah, it stinks.
Stench.
Address.
Yeah.
Like,
Violate
come on,
order to
why does
stop.
marijuana smell like that now?
Or-
It
or
never used to.
address any
Like back in the day,
harm
like high school marijuana did not smell like a skunk.
Okay.
It just didn't.
Science now.
It just
Sorry.
didn't. Is it
Science.
the
But in
Yeah,
hindsight,
increased
you
amount of
wouldn't know the
THC?
questions that you need to ask.
Increased
Exactly,
everything.
yeah.
Just-
They're making it more and more potent, so now it just reeks. I
I don't
don't
know.
get it, but it's like horrible.
I took a
Um,
tour of it 2 weeks ago, and the place, they had big bags like this, place smelled real like marijuana. Like,
So,
And it escapes too, so.
I've made the corrections, let's see if this reads better for the last paragraph.
Okay.
Also, if violations occur in the growing, harvesting, and drying season for your cannabis operation, the Board of Health has the right to impose a $1,000 with, in parentheses, in actual numbers, penalty for every day that the odor nuisance occurs. The penalty will be, period. The penalty will be issued if the owner knowingly violates the order to stop any odor-causing problems at your Hubbardston site.
Yeah, makes more sense.
knowingly violates, okay.
Knowingly violates,
And what if
that
he
is the,
says, I didn't know,
that
then he
is-
doesn't have to pay the fine?
he will be notified, that's our job, and we will,
Then he will know.
Then he will know.
he will know, and if they, that's
Maybe they go
that's
nose
what we do.
blind and they don't smell it anymore, they don't know what we're talking about, but
Can I
every
ask you a
time you ride
question?
down
Yeah,
68.
yeah.
So, whereas we all know, as town administrator, I do not have the authority to tell the Board of Health to or do not send this letter. However, I am a little bit nervous that this will come off as retaliation because of that. Did you get the big long email from me about what's going on with marijuana right now?
No.
I sent it to you a couple weeks ago.
No, I haven't gotten anything
So
from him.
basically, I'll read to you what's going on if I can, Madam Chair.
Sure,
Alright.
thank you.
I wrote this to all of the board chairs, the employees, the department heads, the 2 fire chiefs. As most of you are aware, there have been a recent legislative amendments to the marijuana law, General Law, Chapter 94G, Section 3, that became effective November 9th, 2022. By way of brief background, the amendments limit the type of monetary payments municipalities can include in a host community agreement, HCA, prohibit mandatory charitable donations, and among other changes, regulate how communities can and collect community impact fees, which we have about $150,000 worth of with these 2 companies, 75 on a bad year. At this point, it is not entirely clear whether the legislative amendments retroactively affect pre-existing companies. The State Cannabis Control Commission, the CCC, has been charged with promulgating, wow, I wrote that, regulations for implementing, administering, and enforcing the amendments by November of 2023. The CCC's regulations may clarify the effect of legislative changes on pre-existing host community agreements that were in effect before November 9th, 2022, and whether they will be amended per the legislative amendments. The amendments have led several marijuana establishments to question their HCA's and community impact fee payments. we have received a request from both marijuana establishments in town to whether the town will be amending its existing HCA's in response to the legislative changes. At this point, whether to amend the existing HCA's is ultimately a business and policy decision left to the discretion of the town. However, even before the amendments, the law required that community impact fees be reasonable, related to the cost imposed on the host community by the operation of the marijuana business, and that such expenses must be documented. Therefore, the town's ability to collect impact fee payments changed under the existing HTA's under either version of the law will depend in part on its ability to document impact costs. Then I asked the department heads and the board chairs to give me impact costs, and I give them a big, long list of things that could be impact costs. So the long and short there is that the town as a whole and these two businesses are already disagreeing upon the terms of our agreement, because the big time lobbyists for big marijuana went to the state and created some changes. Most municipalities had known since day one that these community impact fees weren't gonna fly for long, so it was thought about. But I do want you guys to consider that that is going on prior to sending kind of a strongly worded letter.
So odor is, not on that, is that on that list?
Yep, odor is on that list. So anything that
And
you guys
health
think you've spent
considerations.
time on for agents or clerks or anybody, just get it over to me so we can add it to our list. Cause I don't think we're gonna be able to justify a large amount, but we've definitely had an impact.
Well, it might be, number one, the odor issue is separate.
Absolutely.
And we did have, people attending meetings with complaints in September.
Absolutely.
And this issue has been slowly addressed
Mhm.
to do it in the most practical way for them as possible. We are trying to consider these businesses as valid businesses in Hubbardston.
That they are.
And I feel that because the issue arose before any law changes went into effect, I am merely updating the date of the letter, but the intent of the letter was initially drafted in October with a revision in November, and now a further correction in how to write a proper letter to them as of today.
Oh, and 100% received, and as I said before, I would never try to even tell you to or to
Right.
not send that letter. I just wanted to update the board
Thank
on
you.
something that was going on.
That's good to know. And, that impact for those HCA things would be somewhat separate from this odor thing, at this point, other than,
So like we could put in the time of you writing the letter, the time of Nancy or whomever fielding the phone calls, the time, like,
okay,
it really, it's gonna get that nitty gritty.
okay. The meeting time.
That's still a separate issue,
But
that's all that funding that you're gonna.
Oh, it's 100%.
It's like a grant, you
Yeah,
know.
it's 100% a separate
like a-
issue.
Right.
I just don't want it to get convoluted.
Yeah, so it's all gonna come back to this, to the general fund, and it's not gonna come back to us at all.
Nope.
It's
No.
not ideal timing, definitely, that these two things are aligning, but like you said, we had people at meetings.
Yeah. This has
Yeah.
been an
Over
ongoing
12
Oh, absolutely.
subject,
Yeah.
I mean-
and it's
So
been on our agenda for multiple meetings.
I see that letter again.
And, it would have been handled much sooner had we not had
Yeah.
several turnovers in office staff.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to bring you guys into the loop.
But it's good to
Yeah.
know,
Like I said, I would
what's
never,
going on.
ever try to stop you from sending a letter on behalf of your own board.
I think it'll
Should-
probably prompt them to come come right in and.
Could you ask him to
have a
send you a
discussion.
copy of that, what he just, and then he can
Would
send
you-
We
it to
have
us?
that email, I remember reading that.
Yeah,
You
I
do?
think
Okay.
you
I
got
know
it
the
and
email.
you sent it to the rest of
Oh,
us.
and then
We
I
do
didn't
have
read
Sent
it.
it to Ladybug Farm.
And
Yes.
then I
Yeah.
didn't
That's
read
it.
it,
And
I'm
you-
sorry, it's my fault, I didn't read that.
You forwarded it to the rest of us though, because I do remember
Okay.
reading that and
And
seeing
I
the list of
apologize.
things
I
that.
didn't take time to read it,
It's okay.
my fault.
What's that dated, Nate?
This is dated 13 days ago, so January 13th.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure when she forwarded, but just like search for Kathy's stuff
So,
and she. we got
sorry,
it.
I
So-
did the right thing, I forwarded to
Yeah,
the
no,
board
and
members,
it's
but then
okay, and
didn't
I
take
don't
time
want,
to
and
read
I
it
don't
myself.
want you to think that I was trying to
No,
get
but
in
it's
the way.
good
I
to
just wanted to
stay
make sure that
top
you
of it.
knew of
And
all
you-
of the things that was going on.
Do we think then that maybe adding something about when the complaints came in and when we first started addressing this, like that kind of thing,
Yeah, in
like,
the second paragraph, I need to,
like maybe say we've been discussing this as a board since October of,
September.
2020, September, like maybe
And
just
it
add something in there
was-
about
yeah.
our process and why it's taken us, up to now to get this
we
done. I do see
Okay.
it's not really a related issue, but
No.
they could see that
Yes,
as.
I would, like,
Yeah, but this odor thing, you can't drive down 68 in the summer
Yeah.
without it reeking like you think you just ran over a skunk. It's bad.
Yeah, I think if you go back and look at the PowerPoint that I sent you on what I found, it really addresses that this is, it's very specific and yes, we can go.
I mean, I hate to say add something else, cause then it's just gonna slow it down again, right? 'Cause
No,
then we'd have to
hang on.
approve it and everything else. I'm not trying to slow it down anymore, as we,
Yeah,
the
'cause
growing season
spring
will
is
start
coming,
again.
right,
It's-
yeah.
It's almost February.
Growing
Yeah.
season's around the corner.
No, but I mean, there are things, cause I was looking it up a little bit, that like, waste management, treatment plants use to stop smell and odor, and like, that's an outdoor thing, just like the growing, but they do manage to control the smell with, I guess they put up some type of piping
Yeah.
that has like holes in it,
And one
and they
post
send
through
out,
it.
yes, basically,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to get rid of the odor in that area.
Yeah.
And it just kinda
Okay.
stops it, it's expensive, I don't know, but that's not our problem, that's something they promised they
Right.
would do.
Yes, I know, but
So there are ways to stop it.
And when you go to a waste, processing, plant, it's amazing how,
I believe they recorded
Clean
that
and,
meeting, you should go back and
you know, the
watch
air
that on
is-
YouTube and see
So-
what they said when somebody
Yeah,
said, what
it can
about
be
the odor?
done.
yeah.
To see what that guy
Mhm.
said.
yeah.
I mean, and it's not like it's out in the boons of Hubbardston either, it's right on 68.
It's right in the middle.
It's right
Even I
there,
get
and there's
the s-
stores there, and there's,
I can even smell it, and I'm down by the rec field.
yeah.
Only on days, like if the wind's blowing right. I don't get the smell the guys everybody up on High Street gets, and they're not that far away from me, so when it comes down, but it's still, it does
Hey, there's a
permeate the
pizzeria
area.
across the street,
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Yeah, no, it's really awful
It's-
up there.
It's horrendous smell.
But, yeah, that's the small farm across the street from the pizzeria, but
Yeah.
the bigger one is,
Yeah.
is up by, what used to be Leighton's,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Back there behind the horse
behind the
pen.
whole
Okay.
thing.
And those people just bought that farm, just a few years ago.
I know.
Welcome to town.
So, to address that issue, the second paragraph, I would like to say, we have been discussing this odor issue since our September 15th, 2022 Board of Health meeting. As of that date, we had received over 12 complaints during the summer of July 2022 and go on with the rest of it. And that will better clarify exactly when
Yep.
we had the citizens come into the meeting,
And they're on the board of,
and it's
I mean,
in the
they're on
minutes,
the minutes,
it's
yeah.
on the minutes,
Yes.
that's where
Yeah.
I went back to
Mhm.
pull out
which is good.
Yep.
to go over that.
Yep.
So it's been an ongoing issue.
Yep.
We just haven't, because of all the office issues going on, this letter did not go out as soon as we had hoped.
Mhm.
And also, in updating reviews of the legal handbook, what should be in the letter, these various statutes. I just wanted to make sure we had them all in. So,
If you want me to run the letter by legal counsel before you send it, just let me know.
Okay.
I can do that to make sure that we're
How
following
fast
all
are
of
we
our
gonna get it back to you?
fast.
24 hours?
They're maybe less, they're pretty good.
okay.
Copeland,
What cost will there be for the Board of Health for that?
I think
Okay.
it's town.
Added to
Okay.
the,
Alright.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Oh, well.
Alright. So,
can
I
we-
guess I'd like to reread it corrected to seek your approval tonight. The name and address with the Board of Health letterhead will be put at the top of the letter from the Board of Health, date January 26, 2023, regarding cannabis odor complaints. First, we would like to thank you for creating additional business in Hubbardston and would like to see you succeed. We have been discussing an odor issue since September 15, 2022 Board of Health meeting. By that date, we had received over 12 complaints during the summer of 2022, especially late July and August, from residents in town about the skunk-like odor from your cannabis operation that tainted the air for a half mile in all directions daily. We will not permit this to happen again in 2023. The Board of Health has the authority to make decisions about businesses with odor issues under the DEP regulations code 310 CMR period 7.00. You were granted a special permit to operate in the town of Hubbardston, in which you agreed not to have odors from your marijuana operation. Article 22.1 of the town's bylaws states that no marijuana establishment shall impinge on any property owner's right to freedom of noise, odor, light pollution, or the natural, scenic, historical, and aesthetic quality of their properties. Odor complaints made by the townspeople are legitimate evidence that your business in the summer and fall, with a space, of 2022 operated an odor generating operation. In parentheses, per regulation 30, CMR period 7.09 in parentheses. We are asking you to send a letter to the Board of Health informing us of how you will prevent this from happening again. This is underlined to make it clear what we are asking them. The Board of Health will review and present your plan to the Planning Board and Select Board if it is deemed acceptable by the Board of Health. Please be aware that if you do not submit a plan for odor abatement for 2023 and beyond, it may be necessary to set up a public meeting to discuss whether or not to revoke your permit to operate in the town of Hubbardston in 2023. The odor violation constitutes a legitimate reason to reconsider your permit approval. Also, if violations occur in the growing, harvesting, and drying season for your cannabis operation, the Board of Health has the right to impose a $1,000, with the numbers in parentheses, penalty for every day that the odor nuisance occurs. Period. The penalty will be issued if the owner knowingly violates the order to stop any odor-causing problems at your Hubbardston site. In parentheses, MGL period C period 111, section 123 parentheses. Please respond in 21 business days. Regards, Hubbardston Board of Health. Kathy Hansgate, Judy O'Donnell, Lori DeMalier, Colleen Higgins, and Elizabeth Paulides. Okay, so that is the corrected version that I would like to hear a motion on. Any motion to approve?
I'll motion it.
Colleen motions to approve, do I hear a second?
Second.
Judy seconds it. All in favor of sending the letter out in the next few days?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I mean-
I'm sorry, I hate to do this, in
Try.
that third paragraph, you were, granted a special permit to operate in the town of Hubbardston, in which you agreed not to have odor from your marijuana operation. Could we say odors emanating, or emanating from your operation? Or is that not necessary?
I don't think that's
Think it's
necessary.
Okay.
I think it's pretty clear what's going on.
Did we catch in the second to last paragraph, the last sentence, the odor, it's capitalized there? I don't know if we caught that.
It was a big odor.
Capital odor.
It was.
Capital odor.
Kind of capitalized on that.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay?
Yeah.
All right,
So,
Let's just do it.
are you gonna run this by legal before it goes out?
If you send it over, she's usually pretty quick.
okay.
That's up to Kathy, so.
Yep.
But thank you for, helping me get the best letter to be sent out. And,
Gotta do something.
do all of you feel that we should run this by legal?
No,
Not necessarily.
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay. Under the,
Well, wait.
statutes of the Board of Health, rules, we don't have to run by legal.
You do not.
Okay, just so you're aware.
I mean,
Alright.
what can it hurt though? It's not like we have to make changes, they suggest, right?
This is a
Um,
warning letter.
This is a warning.
like, get your act together.
Yeah, and I'll save the money. It's $250 an hour, so.
See, that's what I was asking.
On the town's end.
Okay,
It wouldn't
I
be,
know.
it wouldn't
I
be
think
forwarded
we
to
have,
the.
that's why I've taken so long and
Yeah.
we've made,
Yeah, we're
well
within-
over
we're
3
within our-
revisions.
Our legal
To,
rights
to have a,
100%.
to have a
And
good
This is a
warning
warning letter. If they fail to follow through, then,
Yeah,
and
then-
we
then
start,
get legal
when we
involved.
start wandering through the waters of legality, then.
So then it would be worth it, but
Right.
at this
Are
point,
we-
understood, yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Are we assuming that both of these growers are emanating this odor? Or
They
are we
were.
thinking it's just one? But
Because
this letter,
I-
so this letter's going to both?
Yes,
We have
Okay.
complaints from both.
there were
right?
complaints from
Okay.
neighbors surrounding both areas.
Both areas, okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
And the half mile comes from the addresses of the individuals that were complaining. That's how I came up with a half mile,
Okay,
okay?
yep, sounds good.
Alright. On to the next thing, public health nurse. We had held off, hiring a part-time public health nurse, because we felt we were getting coverage from Maven. I suggest that we still table this till I get clarification from Steve Curry of MPHN as to whether or not they will actually send out a nurse if, for example, a
There's been a
TB
TB
case
case.
occurred or not. If
Okay.
they do not, then we are going to definitely have to address this at
Yeah,
But there's
because
at a
still, like,
meeting.
they can, if Maven Show comes up with an anaplasmosis case,
Yeah.
they need to call them.
Yeah.
And they can get information, you need to call the doctors, et cetera, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera.
Yeah.
And what I saw, which is why I'm not happy to hear the word epidemiologist, because I saw in another town an epidemiologist who time after time after time said, not necessary to call, not necessary to follow up, not necessary to follow up, not
And that's-
necessary to follow up.
And that's
It-
not public
and that-
health guidelines.
No.
No, was totally inappropriate. And these were COVID cases, and they were anaplasmosis cases. And those cases all need to have some sort of phone call. Now, COVID cases nowadays, it's really hard to get anybody to answer back to you.
Yeah.
So you just more or less check off that, you made the attempt. But in the case, they're being followed very well now because physicians and hospitals, et cetera, know how to handle it.
And are required to report it.
Right. But you still have
And schools.
anaplasmosis that still needs to be called, and there's, and other cases that need to be called, and you just need a telephone call. Are you doing okay? Salmonella
did Steve said we're actually gonna get a report of all this too, like we're
That's-
supposed to be getting?
Well, that's the other thing, is we've never gotten reports of
No.
what's going on in our
No.
town, so we're totally blind as to what the health of the town is.
So really, we're paying for this service that is subpar.
Correct.
Absolutely.
But we needed to have by Massachusetts law
Yeah.
coverage,
Yeah.
and so we paid the bill.
So we'd be better off paying for a public health nurse who's actually going to report to this board and do something correctly.
That was our sense of direction over the last few months.
Okay.
However, right now, under Massachusetts public health law, we are legally covered because MPHN is technically liable to provide the Maven coverage for us.
Okay.
Until, what, June?
Till
June, the end of June, he told
June,
me,
yeah. Yeah.
so,
And so we paid the bill for that reason.
so we're gonna table it until
Right, we get some more
in
information.
May or
Shortly.
before.
As soon as I hear back from Steve Curry, then we'll move forward one way or the other.
Okay.
The next subject is, the legal handbook and record keeping. Under the legal handbook, our copy here, on the updated version for 2022, or excuse me, 2021, we are missing the second half of the document. And so some of the information that I referred to is actually from an older version. The 2023 updates, are just very short, guidelines for individual small changes that were made. And so we still need to get the rest of that, so we'll be requesting that.
Oh, from them?
Yeah.
From the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards.
Yes,
So now that we've paid the bill,
right.
you should be able to have password, then that should be able to give us, access.
Right.
Electronically, they can
Yes.
send it to us,
Yeah, so
Okay,
I'll
that's good.
give them a call again.
Okay, Judy's gonna call them again.
They're not the easiest people in the world to get hold of.
Okay, under new business, we are going to ask Nathan to talk to us about the, Kyocera online service. Okay,
All right, perfect.
there we go.
Thank you guys for having me again. It was so far very informational. I do intend to come to a couple of these a year. I can't go to every single meeting every single night or my fiance would kill me. But
No, we don't ask you to do that.
yeah, but I do plan on coming to a couple a year. So about, let's call it 2 years ago, my predecessor worked with the state to get an IT Community Compact grant, which was something created under the Baker administration, which will likely continue under the Healy administration. And this grant covers a wide variety of different issues that municipalities could have involving IT protocol and upgrading different aspects of your government or your municipality towards the future. One of our largest issues then that is still kind of kicking around now was an issue with files and excess paper and not getting rid of certain things when they needed to be disposed of, not specifically on a Board of Health level, but on a town-wide level. The way that my predecessor and the select board at the time chose to go about getting through that was to work with Kyocera Laserfiche to get all of the documents from the different offices, except for some of the smaller ones, onto the cloud. This was a relatively expensive project, which we spent it's either no or very, very little taxpayer money, and I will get you guys that answer, because I would like to know it myself. And we started 2 years ago putting things on the web. the assessors, the council on aging, human resources, land use, library, planning board, select board, the town administrator, and the treasurer collector are all already uploaded, and you can see the systems up there as well, are all already uploaded. Everything that is public record will, in the next few months, be put on a public portal for residents to access themselves. So that will take a lot of the calls and emails out of Nancy's hands, because people will be able to look them up themselves. Before I show you how it works, I do want to apologize, because I think a lot of the confusion that happened over what's going on, why are they taking these files, why does nobody know how to do this, was because of a great period of transition. There was transition all over this place. And then when I was coming in, Nancy was coming in, and Mark had come in shortly before that, so it was really just a tough time to know what was going on, because everybody that had been trained in this system had gone away already. So, and Kathy was volunteering, you all volunteer, and it's greatly appreciated by everybody in the town, but I feel like it was just a kind of a cluster that was more confusion than actually was, it was just confusing. So I am working with Kyocera to get Nancy trained on this programming. He called me yesterday. I was writing up budget stuff, so I didn't have time to call him back, but I'm gonna call him back in the morning. But through that, I can show you the system as is. About half of the land use files are uploaded now. So what you do is you log in to the Laserfiche portal. We all have our own login names and passwords, and you click these little telephone buttons and you go to the Hubbardston repository. From there, you'll see on the left hand side all the different types of options that you have to click. For this particular evening, I'm going to be clicking land use. Knowing that they took the latter part of the alphabet first, and I'm doing the first part of the alphabet now, I'm going to go down to P. When you click P, you see all of the roads in town that have files associated with them in land use or Board of Health from all these towns. Someone name one and we'll click it.
Plumtree.
Plumtree. Plumtree Lane. So we have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 20. Let's go with 9. 9 Plumtree Lane. So we open it. And now we have all sorts of documents that are of Laserfiche quality, because the only way you're allowed to get rid of or destroy a public record is by having it in Laserfiche or microfiche. I think Laserfiche is computers, microfiche is a film. So we will be able to at some point get a shred truck to get rid of a lot of these files, of course only when people are comfortable with the system. So this is all an occupancy permit. It's easier to see when it's not being shared. Building permit, a checklist.
This is a new road, so they should have,
Upside down.
so they should have, a full-size septic plan.
Let's keep going. It's obviously easier to see when I'm not running through it.
Here we go.
It's a child's rendition of a house. Nice.
What is that?
That's a way nicer bar.
McDonald's bar.
Yeah. it's pretty simple to understand what we're doing and why it was important to do, because that's where everything is heading. Everything is heading towards the cloud, and it's safer there should something ever happen to our library basement. Like,
So where is this?
this is on,
the cloud?
yeah, and
Okay.
it's being kept at the Kyocera Laserfiche.
And what if something happens to them? They go under, or something happens
This
to their
building
facility?
runs.
It's all backed up, and because all of those large cloud places like Google, Amazon, all those places have multiple.
So redundant
Yeah,
backups.
there's the-
Okay, alright.
And they have guaranteed to
Yep.
have redundant
Yes.
backups for us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if the company went under, we'd still have access
Yeah, and
to the
Kyocera's
towers.
a massive company too, and Laserfiche is
The newest.
a new technology, and it's a giant company in itself. And all of our fancy black printers are Laserfiche enabled. So you can not
So-
only scan right to Laserfiche, you can scan right to here. Like you
So
can
going
pick,
forward, that's what's gonna happen,
Yeah,
as
and I'm
paper
writing
comes
a-
in.
I'm trying to write a Laserfiche, not policy, but like procedure, just so everybody knows, cause it's by no means just the Board of Health that's kinda like, we don't know about that, like, so with the investment that the town made in this project, it's something that I am going to have to push for. It wasn't my project, I didn't even know what Laserfiche was until 6 weeks ago, so,
Yeah, I think this was started during COVID, right? And
Right,
that's
2 years
maybe
ago with,
why nobody had any of
they
this
got started
questions
just
answered.
before COVID
Yeah.
hit.
But the thing is, the problem is like, just like she just said, none of this information, it was stated in the Board of Selectmen, and we sort of heard about it, but nobody really,
Asked for our permission to do it.
right, and nobody came to us,
To
so-
explain anything,
explain
so there was a lot
anything,
of
so-
unanswered questions.
So all we were hearing were bits and pieces, and it was not handled,
So during,
obviously it was not handled correctly.
so between it being COVID and him being deployed, there was not a lot of communication, probably.
Well, the selectmen
Well-
should have been,
Before it even got started, we were never asked our input.
yeah,
See, I
period.
wasn't on the board back then, so
Correct.
Yeah.
I
I
didn't
was,
know.
and the answer is we were not,
Okay.
we were
So,
told this
the
was
lack of
gonna be
communication
done.
caused some
We were not
problems.
involved
Yes.
or asked,
Yeah.
because the Board of Health records are permanent records, and we, as a board, whoever's on it currently, are mandated to make sure those permanent records are kept. So therefore, whoever proposed this initially and then went to the select board, and the should have come to us to ask permission initially. And that's where we're coming from as, people who've been on the board previously and now again, and also I've had, been on the board now for a number of years in succession to know, during this time, to be able to say that, no, they did not come to us and ask permission. And of course, that's always been, simmering is probably the proper word, under all of that, so. But I'm not against the technology, I think we do need to have this,
but these are
But-
records that need to be
so this
accessed
is,
easily by the public as well, so that's
right, and
that's
also,
the next question.
I have a concern that if we had a major disaster like you had in 2008 with loss of electricity everywhere and all the systems went down, with no access, paper lists were used to reach out to seniors and other issues that came up under that emergency disaster plan that was initiated at that point. We are Board of Health is part of the emergency disaster plan for the town. We have a big portion of it that's our responsibility, and therefore we need to further think about whether keeping certain paper records here available is still valid. It's something not to be decided now, but it's something to think about. Under an emergency plan where powers last for a week.
2008 was such a lifetime ago at this point. The technological advancements that have come since even 2015 would make it a completely different scenario. If
Shall we talk about Monday night?
I had access to the Laserfish on Monday night.
Monday night, I
Yeah.
was sleeping on your 6 blankets.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost all internet and everything on all day Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I mean,
There's,
I don't know what the town had,
there's
so
something to think
the
about.
town
and not-
offices, did they have internet
No,
throughout?
they were down,
Oh, we were down.
So nobody, yeah.
So it's just something to think about, there's nothing that we have to make a choice of
But I
at
guess what
right
is in
now.
what is in those folders that would be needed in that type of
Yeah, that's what we have
emergency?
to determine.
So is there anything in there that is vital enough to have to be needed like that urgently?
Well, that's something to think about. That's, I don't have an answer today.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, before we let go of the paper, you know, we need, advice from the, MAHB on what their policy is. And, because we do all the legal stuff for the public health departments. And then second, you know, it's just something to think about, that's all. Not trying to make a big deal about it.
The other thing is, I've been going through the files, and we have some good historical paperwork too, that
Like
we
big
should
town
hang on
maps and
to.
things, town maps and.
Well-
There's just some things that the Board of Health has had to deal with and had to go to court on. So, we need to kind of review those before they and make sure that we make a decision about do we hang on to these or
Original
what.
documents.
Yeah.
So is there a difference between, like, Board of Health documents that we have in other file cabinets and the stuff that they took out on each home in Hubbardston and had them digitized? The other records you're talking about aren't gonna be digitized, right? I mean, those
I
are just
don't
things
know
we keep
at
in
this
file
point.
cabinets that we will just have.
I don't know at this point, that's why I'm trying to go through
We
just to find
don't
out what we have.
have a paid next step right now. So right now, there is no,
It's just these categories.
it's these categories, and then we're gonna stop, and in the future, if we have the funding through some means, or it comes up and says, oh, you know what would be awesome, we also now have the ability to put our own things on here. So, and that's what I was talking to Nancy about when she first started, was now instead of taking it, putting it into a folder and going like that, you'll either scan it in or get it as a PDF, transfer it to Laserfish and put it into the files right then and there, cause this is a paper saving initiative, this is a green initiative, this is a tech initiative, it's actually good across the board. And just as much as electricity can go down, a building can burn down, or,
Yep.
So,
and I'm not just newfangled millennial looking to put everything on the internet. Like, that's really not what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm fighting a battle that was 75% done when I got here. Like, so.
So is there a plan for some type of copiers or scanners or something that townspeople are gonna be able to come in and use a computer? And if they need to print something off for their home or a home they're working on?
For example, a Title V that was approved
Yeah,
and then
they
they're gonna sell or something and they
So
don't
they
have their
wanna-
own copy.
And it would be, it's my intention to eventually have all permits on the internet anyway. And I was talking
So they could access
to
it from
Nancy
anywhere.
about putting a kiosk in the hall over there, so that when someone came in, oh, I'm here for X permit, not, oh, here's paper, oh, let me show you how to do that on the kiosk. So, but we're still some ways away from even that, cause I hate using turnover as a clutch, but I'm gonna do it until I can't. Like, so there was a tremendous amount of turnover. We're just now getting back to a point where we're starting to be able to see where different things are going, so.
The issue that we have as a Board of Health is all of those records that are now being put up on this system are also public records.
Mhm.
So when they go to sell a house, they need to see the plan.
Yeah, and I
Okay,
gave.
So they need to have a full version of the plan in order to, I mean, sometimes you can't find the septic system.
Right, I think if this is all put on properly, that can be addressed okay. What's interesting to see is on the bottom there is the pumping report. We have a bunch of those that need to be entered in.
Yep.
At some point, we've collected them for 2 years now through COVID, and those all have to be entered in, and hopefully we'll have, some volunteers to help us get that updated. And then that will also be, yep, there's the example right there on the screen. So that's also available. To everyone.
Pumping records are not permanent records, though.
No, but the permanent records of the drawings and so forth, we do have to take a look-see at how well those are being put on.
And I can get you guys a copy of the retention schedule so that you have a better understanding of what is.
Yeah, we've already got it.
Because a lot of stuff isn't as permanent. If it's not an accountant record, it's not as permanent as a lot of other things.
Right.
Other than these, septic systems, these are permanent,
Now that they're Laserfish, they're not.
so.
The septic plan is
Mhm.
permanent.
Depends
So
what you do with
they
the
have to
plan.
be able to have access to the septic plan. They have to have access to that when they came in with the original plan of how they're going to, where the well is, where the septic, where the house is, that is permanent. So, but that's where my concern, you start putting up a microfiche, and then you got a corner here, and a corner here, and a corner here, and a corner there. And that's what Lori is asking, is there some sort of scanner so that if you access it, then it prints out what you need, so that when they sell the house, I mean, I have a copy of my plan at my house, and, you know, and a lot of owners I know, homeowners have their own personal copy, and they want not a piece, want one that's in pieces, they want
I
one.
bought a house and I wasn't given a piece of paper the whole time.
You should have one,
Like,
you should have one.
Go back to them and find out
Yeah.
where it is.
That's right.
Anyhow, these
So-
are some of the issues that are still sitting.
Yeah, so moving forward though, like before they pull up the shredder truck, someone will come and talk to us and get
Yeah.
some input from the Board of Health, maybe?
winter and shredder trucks don't get along, so I'm gonna be waiting until the springtime to even think about doing that. Plus,
Okay.
it's not exactly high priority to do in your first 2 months at a new job, so.
Shred it all.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So just as long as, yeah, keep us in mind.
Yeah,
Keep us
spring,
in
early
mind.
summer, maybe.
And you
like-
said we were all have the ability to get into this system?
It will likely be through Nancy, and until it is put up publicly, which I'm hoping will happen right around the time that we're going to be finishing up this leg of the project. And the state has already called me and told me that I have to wrap this up by June 30, so.
Okay.
Well, my thing is, I think it's nice that you give it to Nancy, but I also know from personal experience, from being on this board since 1992, or 94, 93, somewhere in there, that we need to have backup. So at least one, and even two people, 2 board members need to also be trained on this system.
Well, we can train anybody who wants to be trained on the system, and Nancy and Mark can write down the login wherever they may write it down for use by trusted members of the board. But it would cost us a good amount of money to get 2 members of every single board access to this, especially when we're putting the whole shebang on the internet.
Yeah, but we
So-
should be able to get into it, like vacation time and illness or whatever. I've been through it all. So, I mean, suddenly, you know.
When do you think it's gonna be available to the public? How long will that take?
June, like right
So
as,
pretty
yeah.
quick, pretty
Yeah,
quick.
like, yeah, we're,
I mean, it's-
we're one.
So they're gonna be able to sit at home on their computer and see it at home.
Can they, so
It's-
if I went on my, address right now, say I had,
What's your address?
oh, I don't give that out, yeah, just no, 9 Gardner Road. So if I went on to my, thing, can I download that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and I can print it out at my house.
And anybody could. I can look up your house
Yeah,
and
you're-
Well, you can
download
already
your
do,
house.
you can
and-
already do that.
You're
Yeah,
in a box.
exactly.
It's already
So-
out there.
Yeah,
But I mean,
because they're public records, so
this
everyone
specific thing though.
has access to everything.
Yeah.
You're being,
Oh, because I'm,
added.
Your G.
yeah, I'm G.
Yeah.
Oh, see?
Yeah, so you're
Oh,
not.
I guess you
you're
can't
not
see
in
my
there.
address.
But I mean, like, the city of Worcester already has this in place, so you can sit at home and look up any address in Worcester and see everything that's there, every
Yeah.
public record for any address. And that's how it's gonna be everywhere.
Mhm.
So
Like
that's what
prior
we're
to
doing.
this, as a part-time job, I was selling furniture, and people would come in and say, oh, I didn't measure. I would look up their reporting on the GIS systems, oh, your wall's 8 feet, like, let's go.
Yeah.
And like, it's a little creepy,
Yeah,
but.
it is a little bit, because who else wants to know how big that wall is?
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah.
Alright, that sounds,
There is
I
no
think we
there
need
is
to
no
keep
privacy.
moving on.
There's no privacy
Thank
left
you.
anywhere, anywhere.
Next area is septic engineering reviews. And the subject is, we, Phil Ledger, reviewed a plan at, 52 parcel B at, near 52 Lombard Road, and we reviewed it. Then it was submitted to Conservation Commission, and we got a, notification from Mark Creech that, it was submitted, and it was noticed that one of the maps included in the package showed the entire property is located within a Zone A water supply protection area, and this has a direct bearing on the septic design, since the Title V setbacks, presented cannot be located within 200, and he has the whole code here, but I didn't read that out loud. Cannot be located within 200 feet of a tributary to a surface water supply. The Conservation Commission does not evaluate the compliance with Title V requirements. So it will not be part of the, notice of intent hearing. However, because this septic plan that was submitted does not meet the Title V setbacks, it is going to be turned over, for review and approval from the, Title V / DEP for approval before, so this parcel, is now, being, our approval of the, septic system design is now being modified to be pending approval. Cannot go forward without, the state group reviewing it and approving it. So it's on hold, and we're gonna notify them, the next business day is Monday.
And so they have to decide whether it needs to be moved or modified
It,
or
at this
something.
point, there's no place on the site that it will meet those requirements.
Really, not even a modified system, huh?
No.
Oh, wow.
On
So does those newfangled,
So it
Systems.
has to be reviewed, so our approval is now pending.
Okay.
And we have the right to, with this new information, to change it from an approved review to a pending approval.
wow, that's
Okay.
unusual for,
But was it
Lombard.
approved?
Well, we reviewed it,
Okay.
and Phil Ledger did his engineering review and signed off on it. However, in light of the, Title V, map,
So how did that, this sounds like it was backwards. How did somebody not know that before they did all this?
I don't know.
It sound, you know, 'cause this is unusual, this is Lombard Road,
Oh, I know, it's that big farm down there, right?
and they've got,
So the, design was made by New England Environmental Design Consultants, and, for the owners. So we will be notifying them, that, you know, this is all pending.
have to get a waiver
Not
So-
from us, it has to come from the
from DEP.
DEP/DCR.
So this parcel's already been sold to somebody.
It's still under the original owners.
Oh, okay, alright, yep, alright.
As my understanding from every paperwork that's come in, it's still under the original owners,
Okay.
but it's parcel B on this address.
They're trying to subdivide, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Too much work.
So,
to subdivide.
New England
May not be buildable.
Environmental Design, consultants out of Rutland, and the owners will be notified on Monday.
Yeah, so they either get a waiver and
And
be required
those-
to put in some sort of pumping system.
It's
We've got
not.
an elevated system or not?
That's
No, no,
between,
no.
that's between the.
No, not an elevated.
Not
system.
elevated, cause it could still,
Still
there's
seep
two
in.
streams
It's a
on the
reach.
property,
Yeah, there's-
and the streams, if they flooded, could cause a problem. So we're gonna, keep this pending instead
Okay.
of, allowing it to move forward until we get a ruling, okay? Agenda, where am I? I lost my agenda page, great.
The next is the complaints.
There's no new complaints,
Do you wanna use mine? Oh, wait a minute, that's the,
right here.
Here's an
oh,
extra.
you can't have my folder. You can
Yes.
have-
I don't know what's
Name's
on
got
it.
my name on it.
I-
This is made for me.
I hope you like the color.
Yeah, oh, you found it, okay.
Under complaints, there hasn't been any new ones,
How often does the town like send some type of letter to the owner of 248 Gardner and say, hey, we need something done, like, is it like a regular thing, like every 6 months they just get sent something saying you're,
we had decided at a previous meeting, if you recall, that we were gonna give them 6 months.
This was about the RV at this point, right?
At the
Yeah.
RV,
there's 2 of them, there's 2
Right.
RVs sitting there on the
They
right side of
were
the driveway.
in the earlier part of the season, they were being inhabited, it was obvious.
I don't think there's anybody in them now. Doesn't look like it.
So, we'll, you
It's
know,
hard to tell, but.
um.
So can the town fine the homeowner for that kind of condition, like?
So the people on the site are renters.
Yeah.
The owner has
Disappeared.
he's moved away.
But there must be some record of where he lives, right? I mean, if you look up his property, there must be some way to find out where he currently is, correct?
Not necessarily, if he moved out of state,
But he also tried to address it before he left,
right,
remember?
unsuccessfully.
But he's collecting rent from them, that's all I'm saying, and if it's not being fixed,
I don't
then
know.
can the town, like, I know we can't like put a lien on it or anything like that, but can they assess fines to the owner? So that if he went to ever sell or anything, that he would then have to,
Well, actually, it would become a lien if
oh,
he didn't.
we can,
Yes.
okay.
Over time,
Over
as the
time.
fees got more and more substantial.
Well, we also turned this over to the building inspector. Because of all
But-
the cars and everything, but
Right.
nothing has ever come up
And
from
the
that.
mattresses and the sofas that they're
Nothing.
burning and the,
Well, the mattress, that was at the top of the hill, it's gone.
did they bury it?
No, it actually went into, a dumpster. But, you know, they've got new items up there to keep us entertained.
Yeah, I don't know, I just feel like it's at such a standstill, like, is there not something more we can?
Thank you.
Like,
We were waiting on the building inspector to go up there.
Oh, we can bring it to his attention.
Does he
Would-
even know
are-
it?
Are
He
we
may
the
The current
ones?
one?
May
Not-
not.
he's
Are we
new.
the ones
I
that
know,
issue the
that's what I mean.
fines, or is that some other, like, is it the town that does that, is it some?
It-
Who,
So depending on what the issue is, it can be issued, by the Board of Health, by the building, inspector, or by the select board, depending on what the issue is. Okay. 91 Hale Road is still open because it's, the town is in legal, dispute, thank you,
You're
thank you. Okay, I'm losing it, it's time to go home soon. Legal dispute over, getting the ownership of the property, that's the only reason that one is staying open. Months and months ago, I posted all the no trespassing signs and they're still there, so. Under turnovers, receipts, and financial reports, I'm gonna start with financial reports. I met with, Sandy, last week, and, we have a review, she printed out, the last couple of years of, the Board of Health accounts. I have to go back to her after reviewing them, and I see some areas that I don't understand. I'm also brought it up to Nathan that I'd like to sit down with him at some point in the next couple weeks, and we haven't set a date, to look at, the Board of Health revolving account and the septic revolving account, in particular. But there's also been a couple other things that have come up that have not come before the board to be paid and were paid. One example is a certain amount of money was paid to Republic for a dumpster that had been at the recycling center, and then we stopped paying for it, and now in the last 3 months, there's a fee that's being charged to the recycling for a dumpster with Republic, and so we've gotta look, I'm starting to see that I need to look into more things.
so the dumpster is no longer there? Or it is
I
there?
believe there is a dumpster there, at the point that we stopped, having it there, I had spoken with Travis that if they wanted to continue having the dumpster, it would have to come out of their budget. And that was a few months ago, so,
Okay, so maybe it's just being charged to ours and not theirs, is what you're saying?
could be.
Where is it even being used?
There is a fee being paid
It's
without
right
coming
out there.
before our board for 3 months, so, we'll look into it. That's just one example. Second, under, turnovers and such, Phil Ledger had given us an invoice, 3 invoices, and we have, not me, Nancy has greatly organized this to make sure that we actually have the reports for the things he's been billing for, coordinated. We still have a couple items to find, they're probably in a wrong folder, but that is what this whole stack is referring to. So for every plan review on such and such street or perk test, and he's been paid, we can we have matched, not we, Nancy has matched up everything. And to that point, there is where'd they go? I just had it. There is a current bill.
The bills were at the end. Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm there.
I'm getting there, to the end of the meeting folder, a current invoice, from Phil Ledger to be paid from the septic, account, dated 1/25/2023, for a total for 2 perk tests that were done, one on Old Westminster Road and one on Worcester Road, for a total of $400. The second request is, a different topic. I guess, should we do them individually? On January 3rd, there were no office supplies available at the desk for the Board of Health, no Scotch tape, no staplers, no dry erase pens,
Don't ask me
and
where
a
it
whole
all
bunch of, I don't know where it all went, but there was nothing. I was borrowing it from Mark. And therefore, a total of, I went to Staples and I bought a stapler and all of these items listed below, you can take a look at them. They're all just office supplies for the Board of Health / building person. So I would like to, I cannot vote on it.
We even lost our desk. The desk that we have now, I don't know who bought it, but it's, oh,
Where'd our desk go?
Nancy's.
The one I'm sitting at?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
missing
kinda on the
some
cheap
pieces to
side.
it.
Where'd the old one go?
It's still there.
I
They
think
gave it
Mark's-
away.
Mark's sitting in it.
Mark is just.
Oh,
Well, that wasn't much
appropriated.
better.
It was appropriated.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, I'd, like to make a motion that we pay Philip Ledger $400, and if you're agreeable to reimburse me for the office supplies on that list.
What was it, that amount?
7236, this amount for the.
Yes, thank you.
Motion to pay Kathy for
I'll
office
second.
supplies.
Yeah, I'll second.
And I'm gonna abstain from voting. Is everyone else in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Okay. Please note that I abstain.
And then in the future, just talk to Tony or Bobby and they can review whatever you need and apply it to the Board of Health supply line.
Okay.
Or
Board of Health, what is it?
Nancy can, I'm sure can talk to them, figure out how to order stuff. Do you order your own stuff in the police department?
It depends, sometimes I go to if it's Amazon, I go to Sandy, and then, if it's,
But, yeah.
WB Mason, I just do it.
But
and
then
pay the bill.
again, any expenditure still needs to be approved. Okay?
It's really bad when you walk in and you start sitting, looking at all the files and all you have is a pencil.
Happened to
And the
everything
pen that
Valerie
you pulled
had.
out of your purse.
Just a whole desk full of stuff, where did it all go?
I have no idea.
I don't know how much was there. I don't. So, okay. Any other unexpected subjects that anyone has?
What I had is this.
Oh, yeah, this, so an unexpected subject is the, would you speak to it, cause I'm getting tongue-tied.
Alright, here's something, we've been going, back through all the records for the Holden. And, we're up to 2015. And I have copies. And,
The Holden Hospital Fund.
yeah, and have it broken down by, like the fire department got what they got, and
It still
what we
hasn't been
got.
proven that you guys get anything,
Excuse me, it
It's
was
the-
1993.
but that was not a contract, that was a letter from former fire chief Knight.
Voted by the town.
We have yet to determine that.
How much, okay,
Do you need the record of the town meeting where it was
yes,
approved?
do you
Yes.
need that, because I can get you that.
That was not given to us, I talked to the select board about this, it has yet to be proven that anyone but the but the fire
It's-
department and ambulance department get any of that.
No.
Because in that letter from former Chief Knipe, and I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be grumpy or stop anyone from doing anything, we just wanna make sure that we're doing everything correct.
Well, it's,
Okay,
if you go,
well,
if you
I
go
did-
back
want me
through
to give
all
this
of the
to Nate,
records.
or-
No, it's for the office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we got it to 2015 and we continue to work it, but at this point, we should have somewhere around, $37,000. Actually more, cause we're still missing,
2015 to now.
right,
Yeah, we'll have someone pull out the old files, where it was approved at a town meeting.
What year was it? I can probably find it really fast.
The letter said
93.
19.
Yeah, I have the letter.
I know, but that would have been brought to the town meeting at that meeting.
Yeah, it would have been voted on just as it is. Cause it was Chief Knight that brought it, and he's the one that agreed.
Cause the confusing part,
And he broke it down too. Fire department being education and training, I mean, they even broke it down into pieces. Fire department did.
You have a note here too, in 2011, a health program was co-signed by the Board of Health, so someone at that point.
Yeah, the letter that says 20% to Board of Health is actually signed by Chief Knight.
he's not the authority that gets to decide that. The Holden Hospital Fund is. And the contract that was written right before that letter and signed shortly after has no mention of the Board of Health.
Well, my husband was on the board of selectmen at the time when they signed, when all this came through. And, Holden turned over the funds, to the town, and then the town had discretion of how they wanted to break it down and use it.
Which is fine, we just need proof. And like I said, I'm not trying to be the troll blocking the bridge or anything like that, I just want to make sure before we do anything that's going to end up being
Well, year after
permanent.
year after year after year, there's a vote to approve all of these funds, and some of these, votes had it broken down.
I don't disagree with you,
No.
I work on behalf of the select board who had questions about this issue as we go through it.
Then you should go back to some of the historians in the town.
So, should be in the town several years of
And I'll
town
talk to
meeting
Kristen
reports
about-
where on the budget vote, that it was approved by the town.
I
You know, it
wanna
bothers
see-
me that sometimes, you've got old timers in the town, go back to the old timers and talk to them. Sometimes, people, I've seen this, you've seen it too, where, things that, there's something that got discussed like 20 years ago, and then now gets rediscussed now, and so they have to reinvent the whole thing, rather than go back 20 years ago, and either A, look at the records, or B, talk to the people that were here. And that's the piece that doesn't get, talk to the people. So, I think sometimes we just need to go back and talk to those
So,
that were there at the time this all happened.
so if the funds were approved as is stated in that letter, but with the chief's signature, and the town approved it at a town meeting, there's record of that somewhere,
Correct.
and that's all we need.
Right.
And saying that it was approved as written in that letter,
And that
that
would be in
20% to
the
the
annual
Board of
town
Health.
reports in those books. Cause usually the town meeting is in those annual report books, right?
And
Yeah,
those are all in
the
They are
Kristen,
now.
they're in Kristen's office.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, they're in them now, cause I get one every year and I look through it and, you can go back and see what got passed and everything in the town meeting for that specific year, so
So it would
I'm
have been
thinking
like
that-
November of
Alright.
'93.
last,
We'll get on it. I'll find
Or
it.
even if
So you're
it
gonna
might
find it?
have even,
We'll find
it
it.
might have even been generated in the, on the select board's notes, meeting notes in 92.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm by no means saying anyone's a liar or wrong or anything like that, like
Right.
I
I'll find it for you.
I believe you guys, just we have to
I'll find it
prove
for
the
you.
documentation of it.
But the problem is this is the Board of Health, and we talked about this ad nauseum about how we are kind of blind as to what the health community is. We know there needs to be some public health education going on. We know that we need to probably reach out to the children as well. So there's a lot of things that are getting missed. And then if you go out and you look at the manual for the Board of Health, 75% of it is public health.
Mhm.
It's not septic and
And wells and water quality, yeah.
legalities
And-
and all
and
that
none
other
of that
stuff.
public health is being done.
It's
That's right.
maternal health, it's pediatrics,
Yep.
it's, so if we're gonna be able to do what we're so supposed to do, then, it would be nice to have this fund available to it.
And
there
from
was
where I'm
another
sitting, I would
account-
love that. I would love for you guys to be able to have an educational health proponent of what you do.
And there's, of course, this rabies fund, which we can't touch, but that's mandated by law. And then there's the vaccine fund that I know that, Sandy Knight put in, and at this point, I'm not sure whether we still.
We still have that.
We should, and we should.
Yeah.
And maybe we should rewrite that description a little bit so we can start accessing it for some of the things that we should be doing.
Yeah.
But,
If you get the vaccine, a flu clinic for the town would be great.
Yep.
Love to do that. Coordinate with the MRC, set it up.
Yep.
But we need some funds and
cause it looks like we're gonna have to purchase the vaccine as a board from this point forward. The state
The
is
state's not
backing
gonna-
up and backing up and backing up.
Do the vaccines still need to be refrigerated? Like,
We have
okay,
yep,
cool.
we bought stuff for COVID, and then the state said we couldn't
We
hold.
couldn't do it.
the state pulled back. It was
pulled
only at the
pulled
big
us out
huge.
of the approval that we'd already gotten.
And that's
Okay.
what Westminster does. They purchase their own.
And
Yeah.
we are getting emails, they come into Nancy's inbox, and then she forwards them to me about all these things.
Maybe
I don't
emails.
I don't forward
Poor
everything.
Kathy, I think
I
all
don't
these
forward
things have-
everything to all of you.
But I think a lot of that kind of stuff got lost during COVID, it just got overpowered by it, and we need to get back to some of that basic public health that the board is supposed to be doing. All the
And
rest,
on
it's
that,
important, but.
Maybe we'll call for an adjournment
Yes, please.
at
Wow.
9:11 p.m.
Yep,
We
9/11.
haven't had a,
This is a record meeting here.
It is.
It's okay,
But
we had a
maybe-
lot to,
Yeah.
to do.
We did, actually.
all right,
Yep.
thank
Okay,
you.
when will the next meeting be?
In the second Tuesday of February.
Second Tuesday, weather permitting?
Yeah.
And
Power
power
permitting.
permitting?
We'll book it.
Okay.
We are the second and fourth Tuesday of every month.
Well, thanks for coming, Nate.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
yeah,
Thank
it
you
was-
guys
it
for
was-
that was
meeting in
really
here.
Nice
Nice to
getting
meet
your
you,
input.
too.
and
No, no, we'll.
Thank you for
We're glad to
educating
meet
us on
here.
these.
Yeah.
As often
These are
as
fish?
The second Tuesday.
Yeah.
of
That was very
Valentine's
informational,
Day.
thank
Yeah.
you.
It's good to know that stuff.
Cause you know,
Second
we're just
Tuesday is
clueless and
Valentine's
we're
Day.
looking for info.
The